Happy GA Flashback Friday, TGIF. Thank God it's Friday. This has been the week from you know what. I mean, it's been a good week. I can't say that it's been like a terrible week because it hasn't been a bad week. But it's just that first full week of school, like the first full week. Last week, you know, I had where Eden went to school on Tuesday, Reagan went to school on Thursday, and then just kind of getting into the routine of everything. This was the first full week of school. This included like everything. So I had Monday through Friday, 2 kids getting on the bus, 2 kids getting off the bus. I had Reagan with Girl Scouts, and you know, Eden doesn't have any extra like after school things going on just yet, but it's gonna start happening soon. Horseback riding will be back in full swing, and then I had my job interview on Tuesday, which went well, but I don't think like much is gonna come of that. It's a good opportunity, but I think that I'm going to be taking another opportunity that was given to me that I'm about 99.9% sure I do have the job. I have to do everything on Tuesday, this next Tuesday at 5, to kind of do the final interview and just kind of lay everything out and make sure that everyone's on the same page. But I'm super excited because this opportunity wasn't available or made available to me till after my interview on Tuesday, and it's one that works better for me and for my family, and I'm just over the moon. I cannot be more excited about this opportunity, and I'm just glad the week is over because I need a couple of days to decompress before Tuesday, because I think that after Tuesday my life's going to get even more hectic because something tells me I'm going to have to fit a work schedule into everything else that I do. Jesus, take the wheel is all I can say, is Jesus, take the wheel. But I somehow get it all done. I always stress out about this kind of stuff, and then I somehow get it all done. Like, I'm looking at a schedule, like I look at a calendar and be like, hey, I do this, 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 and this, but now I've got to add this to it and this to it, and Eden needs to be here, and Reagan needs to be here, and Eden's got this, and Reagan's got this, and now I've got this. And now to be thinking, okay, nope, I can't do this because I'm working from here to here, and like I said, Jesus, take the wheel. But I will find a way to do it. I will find a way to work. I will find a way to take care of these kids. I will find a way to do my videos and still be a part of this crazy wackadoodle family that I'm a part of, because I can't be without any of it in my life. Like, I have to have all of it, so I'm going to make it work. Right? Right. You may bear with me. I may be a little more crazy than normal. My hair may not always be done. I may not always look cute. I may start doing these videos in my pajamas, but I don't really care. It's just how it's going to have to be, so roll with it. Okay? Okay. But we are not here to talk about what my potential crazy life and my potentially new work schedule. We are here for GA Flashback Friday, where I recap one of our past episodes of Ghost Adventures, and I am so excited because this week we are at Gettysburg, Pennsylvania, and this is one of my all-time favorite episodes because of the way that it was broken down into a 3-part lockdown. But as always, I like to give you guys a little bit of history about the location. But Gettysburg, Pennsylvania is not a location that I need to give a lot of history on, because Gettysburg is something that we all learned about in school. Everybody knows about the Battle of Gettysburg. It was one of the bloodiest battles in American history, and over 51,000 people were killed during these 3 days of battle, and it was just an absolute bloodbath. And so the guys broke this investigation into a 3-part lockdown, which included the orphanage of Gettysburg, where orphans, kids who lost their families during the battle, their fathers didn't have mothers for whatever reason, they went to live in this home in Gettysburg, but it was absolutely terrible and horrible and sadistic. It was run by a woman named Rosa Carmichael, who absolutely hated children and lived to torture them. She would put these kids in these pits and in this dungeon in the basement in the pitch black for days on end with no food, no water, no proper bedding, no proper living conditions whatsoever. She worked these kids to the bone. She would have the older kids beat up the little kids. It was just absolutely horrifically horrible, horrible, horrible. Like, you would not think that after everything these kids have already been through, that they would have to face something like this, but they did. And some of the kids that they went missing from the orphanage, but it's believed that they actually perished at the hands of this woman and at the hands of the older people involved. And it was just absolutely horrifically done. Like, it was just, ugh, like, it makes me sick. As a mother, I couldn't imagine my children being hurt by anyone, much less at the hands of someone who apparently was supposed to love them and care about them. And so that was part one of the lockdown, is the orphanage, which also doubles as a soldiers museum on the top floor of the orphanage. And it has tons of artifacts in it, including actual human remains with like bullets lodged in them. So perfect breeding ground for a haunting, right? Right. Part two of the lockdown is the Jenny Wade house. Jenny Wade was the only civilian to be killed during the Battle of Gettysburg. And she was actually killed in the kitchen trying to make food for her family during a time that she thought was maybe safe, kind of in between battles. And a battle broke out between Union and Confederate soldiers that surrounded the house, and a bullet went through the front door and actually struck her and killed her. And they took her downstairs into the basement of the home where they believe, and kind of laid her there. And now they have kind of like a replica there, and they believe that her father actually haunts the location as kind of a protection of his daughter. And what's ironic about that is the father was a thief, and he was actually locked up in Eastern State Penitentiary, where the guys have investigated. So that was kind of interesting to know that a former inmate of Eastern State Penitentiary potentially haunts another location that the guys are investigating. Which brings us to part three of the lockdown, which is the engine house. It's a newer structure that was built for all of the trains and the railroad work that goes on in Gettysburg, and the land itself was actually where the first Battle of Gettysburg was fought. And they have seen a lot of soldiers, a lot of apparitions, and they've experienced a lot of activity at the engine house. So it was broken down into three parts, and we're going to get right into lockdown because they had a lot happen, and we have a lot to cover, and I want to go over all of it. Okay. Part one, as I said, was the orphanage. When they began lockdown at the orphanage, they actually went into the basement. They set up a couple of EMF pumps and a static night vision camera, as well as using trigger objects. Now, before I get into full lockdown, as we know, trigger objects are objects that mean something to the spirits, that it's something that is going to attract them, or is something that's important to them during their time. Now, right before lockdown, the night before, the guys dressed up, they got rid of all of their electronics, and they spent the night with Civil War reenactors on the battlefield, dressed up as soldiers to kind of give the environment, give them the glimpse of what it was like to be in the environment. They kind of partook in a reenactment, had Confederate and Union soldiers battle, and they got to be a part of all of that, which I thought was really, really, really neat. It kind of really submerged them into the moment and really made them feel what it would have been like during the battle. And then they continued to wear hats, Union hats, on their head during the lockdown to try to be within the moment. So they began their lockdown, like I said, at the orphanage, using candy as a trigger object. This was home to children. What child doesn't like candy? They got EVP after EVP after EVP. This was an EVP battle, like breeding ground. Like, it was just nuts. They got tons of them. And the first one they got was a direct response to the candy. You know, don't be afraid, you can take it. And they get the EVP, you're wonderful, thank you. So it must have been a child or someone that they, or an older kid who was attracted to the candy, you know, saying, hey, we're not here to hurt you, we're here to help you, we're here to take care of you, and here's some candy. We're not going to hurt you. Then between those EVPs, there was a rock that was thrown, and they got another EVP that said, watch your back with them. Maybe it was a warning saying, hey, someone just threw a rock at you because they're trying to get you out of here. And this person was good, saying, watch your back. Aaron went upstairs to the Soldiers Museum and got an EVP that said, pass all the Morgans. Now, that is a coin that was in the case, and those would have actually been dated back into the 1880s. So those were actually after the battle, which is proof that you can make contact with spirits who died beyond what you're investigating. Then they got another EVP that said, bet you won't untie me, which could have corresponded to the chains on the wall. But it didn't sound like a kid, so we're wondering if maybe there was more people that were tied down there in the basement following the use of the orphanage. The last three they got were Kill the Girl, I never killed again, and I want the bowl of money, which corresponds with a bowl of money that's set up in an exhibit to kind of show people who are touring the area, the pit that the kids were in that actually does have a bowl of money that I'm sure is used to, people throw money down there for like donations and stuff for the orphanage and for the area to keep it in like reenactment condition. Other than the EVPs, they really didn't get a lot of evidence at the orphanage, but like I said, the EVPs were enough evidence. They had tons of feelings and emotions in there, and the EVPs to back it up. So they moved on to Lockdown Part 2, which was the Jenny Wade house. They used the video goggles during this part of lockdown, and as we know, the video goggles have a database within them that allows the spirits to communicate through the database. And they got tons of words, which included teen, past, property, helpful, drink, and water. They ultimately determined that it was possible that because Zach was wearing a hat, that Jenny, the spirit of Jenny Wade, or someone else in the house thought that maybe he was a soldier, and they were very helpful to the soldiers during the time of war, and they would offer them water, food, shelter, protection, clothing, medicine, whatever they had available, they would offer to them. And I think they thought that Zach was maybe a soldier, and they were simply offering him help and offering him drinks and food to let him know that, hey, we do have it available if you need it. They then got to talking about Jenny's boyfriend who was killed during the war, and they asked her like if there was anything that she wanted to say to him before she died. I know that she wanted to get married and have a family with him, and they got an EVP that when I first heard it and the very first time I saw this episode chilled me to the bone. They got an EVP that said, I'm pregnant. Now, they did not do an autopsy on Jenny Wade at the time because during the war, it was just too hard to do an autopsy on everybody. But that was the only way that they would have known she was pregnant, unless it was a known fact or if she was showing or anything like that. And that was not relevant at the time. So the only time they would have known was if they did an autopsy, which they didn't do. So we don't know for sure if this was Jenny Wade or if it was someone else. But the fact that they were talking about Jenny Wade, they were, asking to speak to Jenny, they were asking about her boyfriend and her family, and then to get this information that says I'm pregnant, it's chilling, and it makes you wonder, was she pregnant with their baby at the time of her death, which is really sad and just really heart-wrenching to think that maybe she died having this secret and knowing that, yes, I wanted a family with him and we would have had one, but I was killed and so was he. So then they move on down to the basement, where they actually put Jenny Wade's body after she died while they were waiting to be able to do something with her. And this is where they believe her father is a very protective spirit down there. And they were trying to get evidence, and Zach was, of course, taunting the spirits down there. And they got an EVP that said, don't think it's going to happen. And that's when Zach was kind of starting to get really close to the reenactment of Jenny Wade. But the best part of the show for me happened in the basement of the Jenny Wade house. Zach is kind of straddling this exhibit, and he's like, I'm just trying to get evidence, guys. I'm like, is that what they call it now? Because it looks like you're doing something else. And Nick even made the comment, it looks like I'm shooting something else, and he's laying there and he's like, do you like this? Does this bother you? And then Zach all of a sudden flies up off of that table and like runs to the back of the room, and he's like, I just had someone grab my ass. I lost it. I'm thinking, oh my gosh, this one of two things have happened. The father is trying to get you away from his daughter, or Jenny Wade wants some action. That was my thought. Like, I'm thinking, you're laying over this body of, a reenactment of this person, and she's thinking, you're pretty cute. I might, want a little something, something. It was hysterical to me. Hysterical, because his face, you can tell that someone just grabbed him, and he was like blown away. And I'm thinking, that's what you get. That's what you get for getting all up in her cookie jar, wanting her, getting into her space, taunting her where apparently her dad is in the room. Like, are you serious? Yeah, and he got his ass grabbed, of all things. Like, it could have been his back, it could have been his side, it could have been the top of his head. No, he got his butt pinched. And Nick was like, don't show us. And I'm like, I want to see. I'm not objecting to seeing that evidence. Like, is there a red mark? Because I want to see it. I'm just saying. Every girl was saying that. They're like, shut up, Nick. We want to see that. For the sake of evidence. We're collecting evidence. Paranormal evidence. That's all we need. I was thinking that. I'm sure that there's a lot of people who will agree with me. Write in the comments below if you agree with me. I need to know. I need to know if I'm the only one. Guys don't count. I mean, unless you swing that way, which is completely fine. But I'm completely curious to know if I was the only girl thinking, I want to see. Is there evidence of a red mark on his ass? I want to know. Like, I need to know. It made me giggle, and it was like the highlight of the episode. And they wrap up with that lovely piece of evidence. They wrap up part 2 of their 3-part lockdown and move on over to the engine house, which was kind of at the end. It was kind of a quick thing, but they got the best piece of evidence ever. They are outside using their thermal cam, and they capture what looks like a full-bodied apparition of a soldier. And it happened to be 3 a.m., which is the witching hour, which we all know is when activity can increase. It's a full moon outside, which we all know brings out the crazies. Trust that statement. And it is the anniversary of the Battle of Gettysburg. It is July 1st. And they are now on the land where the first Battle of Gettysburg was fought. And you can actually see a full-bodied apparition and what appears to be a gun on the thermal cam. And when you pan back, it's completely gone. And you can actually see through it almost. Like some of the yellow light of the thermal is bleeding through the apparition, which was absolutely amazing. It was the best piece of evidence caught in the entire episode, aside from the crystal clear EVPs that they caught. But it was really cool to see it, especially when you have all of this going on in the environment. The full moon, the land, the anniversary date. It's just all insanely awesome to capture, and they got it for sure. But that is all I have for GA Flashback Friday. I will be back on Monday for GA Recap Monday, where I will be recapping the newest episode of Ghost Adventures, and I am so excited. I cannot wait. Until then, stay happy, stay healthy, have a fantastic, wonderful, amazing, relaxing, beautiful weekend. Much love and happiness, guys. Bye!